All right, welcome back to the Pure Playbook. I am Dr. Dustin Bosson here with the Dr. Nate Merhaut. We also have some very special guests with us today. So we're going to have a guest podcast today of a couple parents of an athlete that we see. So Mindy and Matt, thank you for joining us today. So on this mission that we have been going through, especially in the podcast, you guys are actually our first parents on the podcast, which is super cool. But this podcast, as you guys know, and for those of you listening or first time with us, this is all about bringing relevant information, education to parents and student athletes that are trying to keep up in this world. As these athletes are training more, training harder, what's the research showing? So we're trying to sum a lot of what we do up here from a clinical aspect, and having your story be a part of this is going to be very cool, because how you started was ideal. Injury prevention mode and seeking us out. And we'll let you tell a little bit of that story. And then we will be talking about a contact injury that was sustained. Dr. Nate and I talk a lot about non-contact injuries and things like that. So without further ado, let's just jump in and introduce you guys once again. So Mindy and Matt Mierek, you have a daughter who plays high-level volleyball.
Correct.
You are here local to us. So I just want to start off with letting you guys tell a little bit of your story on how you even found us. How did you find the Pure Athlete?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So our daughter Bailey, high performing athlete, plays volleyball. She was at this point, she's 15. She was at this point where she knew she needed a little bit more support and more information. I felt like we were saying what we knew to say, but we didn't know everything to say and how to help her. And she kind of came to us saying, I've got coaches, I've got a great coach, I've got high school coaches, I've got a trainer. But she knew she needed a little bit more information, more support. And she was the one that said, let's do some research. Let's find some people around us that are experts. So she actually was the one that said, I need something different. She knew in her mind, in her body, I need something different because my goals are big. And the pressure, I would say the word for me is pressure.
Yeah.
There's a pressure on these athletes that is insane.
Right.
Much different than when we were kids.
No doubt.
A lot different.
A lot different. And so she knew she needed it and did the research. And we actually found you from a family that was here before us. And so it was easy to know, have someone who could tell a story and could see your website and could see what they had gone through with their high performing athlete. So, the rest we will probably talk about here, but that's how we found you. It's just Bailey knowing she needed something more, us knowing the pressure was bigger than ever, and us knowing we aren't the experts.
Right. And us kind of, always supporting that, decision your kids make, but being in the background, understanding we have to guide her a little bit along the way, but still stepping outside the boundaries and really supporting what they're wanting. So that was kind of the first step.
Yeah. What I've noticed with her is she's definitely, the first time she came in here, she was definitely more mature than what her age is.
Yep. We've heard that.
Both from an athletic standpoint as well as mentally. And so, but even for her to know that she needed something else is kind of rare for that age in that age group, but awesome for you guys to support her through that and help her look for the different resources. And then we were just the lucky ones that popped up in the conversation and now we're here.
Yep.
And that's something that I mention almost on every podcast is really, I go back to almost the origin story of the Pure Athlete as a healthcare facility. And what we talk about on the Pure Playbook is, we were really trying to solve for three things. And it was, where do we go? Who do we trust? And how do we prevent? And so from a parent standpoint, like you were saying, Mindy, it's we're not the experts we don't have the clinical expertise, but the humbleness to actually, understand that and be okay with and start vetting people. Who can we trust? Where do we go? Who do we trust? How do we prevent? And so that is a lot of what we're starting to see change too, that people are looking, which is a blessing because they are working so hard and they're practicing 8 days a week and 26 hours a day. And so those were the first three questions. And I feel like you guys pretty much fell into that category. And I'm going to tell a quick story here because I remember the phone call we had, and I love telling this story because I love your confidence and, even within the line of work you do and the way you speak and very put together. And so you kind of read people right off the bat. And I get on the phone and Mindy calls Sam calls Mindy or Mindy calls the office. Sam's talking to Mindy. And then she's like, hey, do you have a sec? And I'm like, I always have a sec. She's got a mom on the phone. She's like, I really think they're going to be a good fit, and I was like, okay, cool. Got on the phone. Mindy starts in and she's talking about, we're just made it very clear right off the bat. The first sentence was, so we're just looking around. And I'm like, okay, got it. She's like, we've got a few other offices. So I just want to let you know that, but here's what we're looking for. And the first thing that I told her, and Sam was standing at the door, I said, well, I'm just praying I can stop you dead in your tracks right now. That was the first statement I said, because I truly believe we have exactly what you're looking for. And that's how the whole conversation started. But it was kind of an eye-opening part for me too. It was just like, did I really just say that? Did I really just tell her I'm going to stop her in her tracks? Right. But that was, it was something that I always kind of giggle about. But that phone call was, it was very enlightening to hear. Oh, and the fact that she held out, well, that pretty much does it. Yeah, we'll book that appointment. And I was like, well, bring your husband, bring your daughter, of course. And she's like, you're actually on speakerphone. I was just going to say, didn't you say they're on speakerphone?
Set me up. Yeah. Everyone was listening to that. And it was really Bailey interviewing you.
Right. Yeah, so that was very cool. So when you talk about what she was looking for and when you started to make that call, what was it that you guys were looking for? When she said she needed something more and you had a couple, of options lined up and you started searching, what was it that you were looking for?
I think I'll start with what Bailey was looking for. She was looking for someone that she felt comfortable with right off the get-go. So that was really, really important to her.
Sure.
To hinge on top of that, she was looking for a place that was high tech, a place that kind of looked outside the box from the norm of what she was looking for. And then somebody that, a place that could be part of her vision for her team. Right. And those are, I think, probably the three most important things that she was kind of looking for was that.
And I'll build on that, the team aspect. So she knows she needs multiple people around her. Mm-hmm. She knows that she was looking for someone with high tech that could understand her body because she really wanted to get to know it. How do you fuel it? How do you take care of it? How do you protect it? How do you get the most out of this body? And she didn't have that. So she needed that. She needed somebody that could train her in a gym. She loves a gym. Yeah. I mean, the girl loves a gym.
Yeah, she loves pushing herself in the gym for sure.
And she knows she has a club and that club is going to help her get to her next goal, which is college. And then after that. So she was thinking, like, how do I get that piece that's going to know my body, that can work with my trainer at the gym, that can help me at my club. And she also wanted someone that could match the energy. Right. She wanted to go hard.
That's important.
And so
do you know where that even came from? Where that need or the know of needing?
That's not the status quo.
Was that something normal, that was you awesome. Guys talked to her about, or we'll throw Cody into the mix because Cody is an awesome piece of the puzzle too, and we've worked with him, so we'll talk about him too. But did that come from Cody? Like, where did that come from?
I think that has been in her for a really long time. I think we can kind of take some credit for that. We've always been parents that have let their kids kind of do what they want to do in terms of activities, sports, music, whatever. And whatever it is. And once you find your passion and once you find what you really love, you're self-motivated. Yeah. We're not motivating her to do any of this. It's all her. We're helping her and guiding her along. But I think that came from us a lot, just in how we operate through life and how we've raised the both of them. Unbeknownst to us, we didn't know we had two kids that would be high performing people in their lives. I think that's support is a big part of that, and letting them kind of guide their own way with us in the background, making sure they don't guide too much one way or another, being so young.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think, especially for any other families that are looking for something like that, like if you have an ambitious kid that needs a lot in this pressure-filled world. And then if you have a family dynamic that is like, a couple of our mantras are like, anything's possible and we're better together. Like you can't do it alone, you know? So, and you can do anything, but you can't do it alone. And we're not always what you need, but we'll make sure you have what you need. Yeah. So I think if families have that situation going on where your kid is really ambitious, you've got that belief system of like, you can do things, just get the right people around you. That's kind of the secret sauce that got us here.
Yep.
You guys don't know, but I'm in the works of writing a book, even though I'm really not. Called Just Breathe. But I think you guys need to write the book of how to raise a student athlete.
Yeah.
And just, you know, you're doing it right.
Time when the kids are done with school,
You're definitely doing it right. But if you need help, maybe I'll help you guys out with that.
All right.
So yeah, I mean, definitely not the norm. And I've said this to both of you guys is, you know, from our perspective, just being very candid, raw, you know, genuine's our number one core value. So I'm just going to say something on here on the heels of what you were saying. If you are that family and you have those desires is, you know, you guys being role model for parents of similar athletes. And I say that because you've also given us the space to do what we do, because I get it. There's a lot of parents who are like, you know, this is my daughter, this is my son, I got to trust, or what are we doing here? And it's very much now they're the helicopter parents of us. And it's like, what are we doing? I'm going to be here. We'll schedule it. We'll let you know when we need it. And it's like, you guys have been very awesome at giving us the space clinically to be like, hey, we trust you. So I can tell you, we appreciate that a ton. And so for families finding those teams and, you know, even us as parents, and ours are younger, but they're going to be 15, 16, 17 here, not too long.
Don't rush it.
But right, exactly. But it's, you know, us as parents knowing that, you know, we might not be able to get you there. You're here, but we might not be able to get you there. But like you said, we're going to do everything we can to have resources and trust the resources that you guys want to put around you for sure. So let's just kind of fast forward here a little bit. If we haven't said it yet, I think I said it at the very beginning. Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, but Bailey is a volleyball player. I think I might have mentioned that at the beginning. A high-performance volleyball player, trains with a former Olympic athlete, has a trainer for sports-specific, has a personal trainer for gym and performance-specific. She has us in her corner on the healthcare-specific and injury prevention. But that first visit, if you can kind of recall back into here, what was your take on the first visit when we got all the tech out and we started doing the things? What was your guys' initial entry upon, I'm going to stop you in your tracks, to now you're in the front door? Tell me, guys, how you kind of felt about that when you finally stepped into the space.
Yeah, I'll start. I was watching Bailey because I know what she was expecting. She's got high expectations. And she got a lot of information. And she could see the process, and she was soaking it up. She still is a sponge with you guys.
Yeah,
and I'm sure
absolutely.
we'll talk about that. Like, she's geeking out on everything. But in that moment, she was getting what she wanted. She wanted information. She wanted a lot of information that could turn into action, because she loves to take action. For me, I was just blown away with how much you could perceive visibly, and then what the tech was doing.
Yeah.
And the explanations, like Dr. Nate, you even warned us, Dr. Nate's going to go into some details. And he did. And it was like analysis and what to watch out for. And, hey, don't pay attention to this, because this is actually what we were going to do with that. And this is going to lead to next steps. And going back in my mind, I had no idea, but it was helpful for me, because I was reflecting on all the things Bailey's been through.
Yeah.
All the things with basketball and track and volleyball, and like moments in her athletic history where we had issues. We were like, I wonder what that was. We never really knew.
Yeah.
And so we knew the whole picture just leaving the first appointment. And we've still been getting more information upon more information. So it was just wonderful to see Bailey get what she wanted. And then it was reassuring for me, like, oh, this is exactly what we need. We've got a plan.
Right. Yeah. And I'll kind of hinge off of leaving the appointment. Once we got into the car, I knew it was the right fit when Bailey started talking about, Dad, you know, did you see how, you know, my knee kind of turned in just a little bit when I got into my squats and when I was jumping or doing side planks, and I was scoring off the chart on some of these things. And once she started talking like really involved about when Dr. Nate came in and when he was talking, I knew that was the right fit. And then when you came in, I was like, all right, this guy's cool. You know, I could vibe with him. And then when Dr. Nate came in, I was like, all right, this guy's cool too. But man, the stuff that you started talking about and going through all the videos and I was a college athlete as well. And I'm looking at all this stuff and I'm like, this is amazing. I can see it now that you're showing it to us, but I would have never seen that just seeing her work out. Right. And I think that kind of goes into, you know, her personal trainer, Cody, and, you know, you guys collaborating with him. And, you know, I was just blown away with the whole process. because when I heard honestly how much it cost, I was like, oh man, that's a chunk of change. But once we left here, I was all in, and I knew at that point that you guys would be a perfect fit for the team. Bailey knew at that point you guys would be a perfect fit because she talked all the way home nonstop. So it was great.
So let me just kind of, for those of you listening, or I'll just kind of take you through this first visit of what they're talking about. So, transparently, and it's on our website, so the Pure Athlete Evaluation is something that we have created with multiple different technologies, and even collaborated with a physical therapist, good friend of ours in Tennessee, Dr. Trent Nessler. He came up with some of the technology we use. We've incorporated it to really look at a 4D picture of the athlete: internal, external, ortho, neuro, physical evaluation. And so we take digital x-rays, we take a motion study, we hook these athletes up to technology, and it takes us we've got it down to about an hour from the time you walk in the door to the time we collect everything we need or less. And we go over it on a second visit. So if you find that on our website at thepureathlete.com, you will see there's 2 different ways to get to that now. 3. There's either verbal referral, you walk into the office, you make an appointment. If you find it on our website, it's $275 to do this evaluation. Or if you get one of our cool little metal VIP cards,
which are
people
awesome.
like you, people like you that have them. If you end up with a metal VIP Pure Athlete card, use it, because there's a discount in there for this evaluation now that we have created on the hidden website, essentially. But I mean, and you talk about, and that was one of the things Dr. Nate and I talk about a lot, is don't confuse cost with value. Right. Because now, I mean, I think looking back for you guys is, it's like, would you pay $225 or $275 all over again to have that evaluation
Absolutely.
done? And it's like, and there's a level of us that's like, who else is doing this? Do we have something special here, especially in our community? And it's not about that for us, but I think that also provides a little bit of a buy-in. I mean, you take x-rays, you get a data analysis. It's like, how much does that cost at the ER? Right. Like, where else are you going to find it? But I loved that first visit, because I can also see like the combination. We talk about good cop, bad cop. And it switches from day to day.
It does.
It switches from day to day. But for me to give a little bit of vision and then watch Bailey eat up the data, like you guys were saying, was huge.
Right.
But we go through the second visit. Obviously, we start, and I'm going to fast forward a little bit here too. Let's go, because I already mentioned there's an injury involved here. So leading up, we were about 3 or 4 weeks in.
Yep.
Right. Everything going great. You can even talk on the first 3 or 4 weeks, but let me just turn that over to you. We're here 3 or 4 weeks. We get started, we get rolling, and then injury strikes. So just kind of take us through that timeline of those 3 or 4 weeks. What do you remember from that?
I remember the eye-opening experience for Bailey to say, like, because she was struggling with, how can I get more strength in my arm? How can I jump higher? She's got some pretty crazy goals for her vertical. And so she started working on that right away and realizing what her brain does in her neck and how she can open up. And her confidence was building, and she was on track. She would come in here like, how am I doing on progress? And then she was in, what was it,
Chicago. Yep.
At a tournament, and flying in the air with confidence and opening up more and having more stability and more motion and more control. And unfortunately flew too high and jumped up, got a kill, got a great kill,
she
got
scored.
a point.
So I was actually there with her. And she jumped up, came down on her setter's foot. And right when that happened, her foot twisted. She went right down to the ground. Coaches went up. I didn't know it had happened right then and there, but they were there for a minute or two. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to walk up. And I walk up, and she's sitting on the ground. The first thing she says to me is, she's like, I can't be hurt. And tears are just streaming down her face. So, I give her a big hug. The paramedics come over, bring her over. They, wrap her ankle up. We go back over on crutches. The other team all comes over afterwards and makes sure she's okay. The coach comes over. Her team obviously comes over, and everybody's huddled around her. They all leave, and she's just like, Dad, what am I going to do? Like, she thought that was her career right there. And it's heavy at that point when you're an athlete and you have these big goals and all of a sudden you're hurt and you don't know what to do. So we're talking and we get back to the hotel, and later that night she's opening up and I'm like, that's why we have a team around you. Is these are the times when that team is going to be the most important time out of anything is right now. So when we get back, we're going to call Dr. Nate and Dr. Dustin, and we're going to call Cody, and we're going to get a plan together. And that's what we did.
Bailey decided we're doing that right now and texted you guys.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
I think she did
happening.
when we were in Chicago. Yeah, I think she did.
Got her team on the phone.
Yeah, we got the video that you texted over to me even.
Yeah.
And I was slowing it down. But the first thing I noticed was that she scored the point.
Yeah, she did. She said that when the MTs came over, she's like, did I get the point? And I was like,
anytime we receive a picture or a video, and if it's coming from Dr. Dustin or if it's in our group chat that we have in the office, I'm like, uh-oh. Like, what is it now?
Right.
And then we watch it and see what went on. But
this is a perfect example of, a contact injury. Most injuries that, 70%, and you talk about this on other podcasts too, 70% of athletes will sustain an ankle sprain. And so it's almost like, almost call it 100%. Like who hasn't? Have you ever rolled an ankle when you were playing sports?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Who didn't report it? That 30% didn't report.
But, we talk a lot about injury prevention here and, how do we limit injuries? And we've been challenged sometimes. It's like, well, shit happens. And it's like, you're right. As athletes, you don't live in a bubble, but we're talking about non-contact versus contact. And so already having a few weeks into some of our protocols, we've, that's one of the first things we do: knees, ankles, hips. And then if they're upper extremity, we start bulletproofing shoulders. But I get that text. And how hard was that for you because again, not the norm as a parent, seeing your daughter on the floor, on the court, and tears running down her face, knowing that she is this ambitious, to have did you immediately think like, this is why we have a team? Like, how hard was that to separate dad from what you were truly building and have around you? Because for me, it's like, okay, control mode, like my son, my daughter, protection, big bear, like dad's gonna fix it. And instead, like, to have the presence of mind that, like, I didn't receive a text not a half an hour after that happened of the video of like, here it is.
Yeah, I mean, right when it happened, I was sitting on the sidelines with a few other dads, and the first thing, I'll never forget it, the first thing I said was, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Right when she went down, I was like, oh no. And then I go into calm mode because I didn't want her to get more emotional than she already was.
It's kind of like when kids fall, you go, yes.
Right. Yes. You're okay. Cool. Let's go do something else. So, I knew she was hurt. But, I let her talk. I just tried to keep her calm. We went over, I was just rubbing her back when she was sitting over on the paramedics table, and she's just, tears are streaming down her face. And then another girl comes over that was probably 18. Similar thing happened. Her dad was carrying her. And I was like, getting hurt happens in sports, honey. So, but at that point, there's nothing that I could say. Right. It's just like comforting her and trying to keep her calm. Once the game was over and we got back, immediately. And that's when she was like, let's text Dr. Nate and Dr. Dustin right now. So she's like, I already have the video. She went through the entire game, found the video, that portion, saved it, and then that's when we sent it over to you guys. So I kind of go into calm mode when those kind of things happen. That's just my natural way of dealing with things.
What about you, Mindy?
I was at home watching with a lag. So when he's texted me, I had not seen it yet. So my heart just dropped. And, I think looking back, I just wished I was there. I'm glad I wasn't because I would probably not be as calm. He's a little more calm than I am. But in my mind, that as the night went on, I realized I really believe things happen for a reason. I really believe that there's always good working around people who are looking for good.
Yeah.
And we already had you all in place.
Mm-hmm.
And you talked to us about injury prevention, even though we didn't have an injury when we got here.
Right.
And we talked about strengthening Bailey's body to get ready for those things. And I knew she was ambitious. So it was just a matter of time. So I immediately went into gratitude mode. I'm kind of a positive person. So I went into gratitude mode, like, okay, she's only a freshman.
Right.
This is her injury. This is her learning moment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the next couple weeks were really hard.
Really hard.
Really hard.
How so?
Bailey cried a lot
Mm.
and was wrestling with things in her mind a lot. And she had already, we didn't really talk about this yet, but we knew when we came here, not only was it for the physical, it was for the mental.
Mhm.
Like Bailey needed to wrestle with some things about her, how she thought about herself, how she thought about her future.
Mhm.
You took her through some wonderful things through the mental coaching. And that was really critical because those first couple weeks, she just didn't see a way out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She was worried about progress. She was doing the math about tryout dates and nationals dates and even college tryouts. I mean, this girl thinks about college all
Yeah.
the time. And so she was doing the math and saying, how can I get back on track? I'm not going to get back on track. And it just was a spiral for the first couple
And
weeks.
to your point, there was nothing that we could say to
Mhm.
comfort her until she came in and talked to you guys. And I'm not just saying that just to say it. That really helped. And I think you guys helping her on the mental side of things is equally important as the physical.
Okay.
I mean, it's so huge.
Yeah.
And we see that in Bailey. And did see that first few weeks of her going, okay, I have to deal with this. These are the steps that I'm going to take. I'm not going to get 100% right away.
Mhm.
I'm just going to have to deal with it. So at that point, as parents, when something like that happens, there isn't anything that we can say
Right.
because we don't know what to say.
Mhm.
But we knew that you guys were here and you knew what to say because you told us one time.
We think we know it. What to say.
We're like, okay, we're just going to step back and support, right? And that's our job. Instead of going, this X, Y, and Z, this is what you can do.
Mhm.
We're going to leave it up to you guys. So.
Yeah. And the realisticness of it, I think a lot of parents will agree with this, is it's like, you're also the last person they want to hear it from.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's like, honey, it's going to be, you're supposed to tell me that. You're my parent. Like, just
Right. You're my mom.
leave me alone. Shut my door.
Mhm.
Go away. Like, and it's like, holy cow. And that's the other thing too, when we talk about why do we do what we do? Like, what is the passion and mission behind it? So I already told you the 3 questions we're solving for, but there's 2 people that these kids don't listen to first. Their coaches and then their parents. Just too close. They put them, that relationship. We all know we're a little defiant, and the more love you have with somebody, the more grace you receive by nature. And that. So It's like, there's the button. I'm just going to press it, or don't press my buttons. I can press your buttons, mom, but you can't press mine. So get out of here. It's like, so I'm grateful to be able to bridge that gap and appreciate that, because Dr. Nate does it on some level with certain clients, and even Sam does it with Bailey and with some other clients we have. And, the 3 pillars of the pure athlete is physical, it's mental, and it's relationship. And I think that is the hardest thing for people to talk about, or it's kind of taboo still at this point of their kids, they'll get over it. And it's like the realisticness is there's a lot of unfortunate diagnoses and mental depression, anxiety, suicide, all these things. You're seeing these go up in student athletes. And, and I think we are all very aware of that at this table too, especially when you have a high driver and you watch something like that happen. And that's really at the heart of mine. I've got an injury story that's similar to that, and I won't get into that here, but it's very much a part of our mission to be able to be a part of that mental story and be willing to talk about that with them and to look at them and say, yeah, this sucks. This is going to suck. And you're allowed to feel like this, where it's just like, you're going to be okay. Get over it.
Right.
Or, in a roundabout way, that's all they hear. It's like, honey, you're still awesome, where there's still time. And it's all they hear about. All they hear is you're hurt and this sucks. That's all they're processing. So to be able to have the mental side is huge. And I hope more people start discussing that more with their athletes, because it's necessary. But to dive deeper in onto the injury that was sustained, I'll let Dr. Nate kind of go over it, because it could have looked, well, when you see the video, if you know what you're looking at in the video, it was not a high ankle sprain.
That's what, yeah.
So it was very much different, but I think that's what the consensus was. Oh, another girl rolled her ankle.
Right. That's what the EMT told us at the event. So we were like, okay, cool. Well, that's what it is. And that's what got us through those few days.
Just ice and elevate,
Right.
And we find out later.
And then we got to be a little bit of the bad guy. So I'll let you kind of talk about what we found.
So they came in and
I was scared about this. I didn't want to deliver.
She really wasn't. Her demeanor coming in, sitting on the table as I was doing the exam, she seemed in fairly good spirits. So something was done prior to her coming in where she was in a good mindset and just expecting the worst as well. And so I was running through a couple tests and a couple things. I'm like, okay, in the back of my mind, I'm like, there's, definitely grade 2, grade 3 sprain of ligaments and things like that around the area. So soft tissue structures, definitely because of the bruising pattern, the swelling and all that kind of thing. And I was kind of talking you through it a little bit on saying, this is what we expect so far. And then, whether you like it or you don't, and this is more in the medical field, tuning fork test is one of the things that I pulled out and put it right on the 5th metatarsal. And that was really where she was kind of jumpy and pulled back. I did some other palpation and felt some things as I was moving things around. And, we were going to take x-ray either way, but that to me was already like in the back of my head. I'm like, okay, we're dealing with something a little bit more. And so Dustin took her back and took x-rays. I was sitting out here and we were having a conversation and I just kind of said, this is, it's either going to be this or this. And if it's this is what we do. If it's this is what we do. And just walked her through. And so just prepping mom on what was going to happen if it was one thing or another. And I think you kind of knew that there was potential for the fracture, and it did end up being a spiral fracture of the 5th metatarsal. There was some soft tissue damage, which we didn't necessarily get the extent of that, and because of the fracture being the thing that we needed to focus on first and foremost, the soft tissue is in a sense kind of put on the back burner until the fracture healed the way that we wanted it to. So I think you delivered the news of the fracture though. Yeah. So I don't know if you wanted to talk on that.
Yeah. So, I mean, this was, knowing Bailey and me, the magnetizing effect that Bailey and I have just being similar drivers. And I think we just innately kind of understand each other. And she knows if I deliver, so even at this early, I mean, we're 3-4 weeks into care. So a little bit of rapport, but I'm not going to say we know each other that well. I'm not going to say I have a whole bunch of trust, and maybe I did, but it was unnerving for me to watch her, unknowing how the response was going to go, because it was either going to be deflating or there's a very small chance she would be like, okay, how do we deal with it? Because I have a similar mindset. And so when I told her, you could kind of see her deflate a little bit and immediately go into the numbers. I have nationals in 11 and a half weeks. I have tryouts 4 weeks after that. And I'm trying to level up and I have an opportunity to make a better team. And I'm processing all of this for her, which is the last thing him or I need to do in our position of like, separate yourself. So when I saw it and I brought him in and I was like, you see what I'm seeing? He goes, yep. And I'm like, that's not what I wanted to hear either. But I come out and I was like, so we do have a broken foot. And you could see her kind of deflate. I said, however, of a scenario like this, I would almost rather see a fracture than just obliterate soft tissues. And there's definitely some grade 2 and grade 3 strains. And there's a considerable amount of soft tissue damage at this point as well. But sometimes too, it's like, I'd rather break a bone. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think I told her that. And that was one thing that like perked her up a little bit. I was like, if this was me and I had a fracture in my foot, this was exactly what I would want.
And then part of the team effect of that too is it's like, here it is, but a little bit out of our realm. And with where the fracture was being on the lateral side of the foot and the spiral fracture, which if you guys can Google spiral fracture and look at the difference, makes it a pretty vulnerable case. So immediately, thank goodness for the relationship at WashU, and it was bang, bang within 24 hours. We had you or less. We had you at WashU. Dr. Hollaba took care of that. We've been in contact. And so I would say, and I think we would all say, thank you guys for being here, because it really has helped us solidify a better team around us to put around you guys. And it also introduced Cody into the mix, who she trains with, Cody Welker, on the performance side of things and just raw gym training and movement and agility and those kinds of things, and being able to collaborate with him. So I guess let's just kind of move through that real quick of, okay.
And can I speak just to one thing? And that's to the team aspect of things again. I think I texted you when we were on the way to Dr. Holaba's office, and I said, hey, do you mind if I call you or he calls you while we're there if we have questions? And we're sitting there, and, you know, Dr. Holaba, they do the x-ray in office. Great guy, comes in and he's like, you're going to need a cast.
Mm-hmm.
And Bailey just immediately, strong Bailey went to cry, you know, just tears. She was still being strong, but tears started rolling down her face. And I was like, okay, can I call Dr. Dustin real quick? And he was like, absolutely. So I called, you got on the phone with him. You guys, you know, talked. Mm-hmm. He talked to you based on what he saw on his x-rays. And you were like, all right, let's do it. Yeah. He got off the phone. He's like, we're doing a cast. Mm-hmm. And I think he wanted to do a cast for 4 or 5 weeks. Mm-hmm. And you had mentioned, hey, let's see where we're at after 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So he's like, you guys come back in. We're going to pull the cast off in 2 weeks. We're going to recheck it. If the cast needs to go back on, that's what we're going to do. Yeah. So, you know, again, having that team around you is super important. And I appreciate that. I'll never forget that. So
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and changing the standard of care for some of these things is what we're trying to do. We're not trying to change it for the sake of changing it. We're trying to change the perspective of how we look through this lens. And I think even Dr. Holaba, I think, because he ended up not long after that standing about with us right here in this area where we were talking, he came to our office. And I'm just going to call it out and say it. How many orthos have you heard about coming into a chiropractic sports medicine office? Never. So, you know, the humbleness to do that. And like I said, there is no headbutting on our end, but we are trying to change that stereotype and have that standard of care and that collective of people. And I think he really saw that too. And with what Dr. Nate and I were both discussing is like, and to your point on the phone is I was like, well, can we go ahead and set an appointment for 2 weeks out? There's technology and there's things that we do here that can help fracture healing time. And if we can do that, given the timeline, because, you know, he understood her dynamic too of like, okay, very driven. We've got a 12-week timeline, 10-week timeline here. And you're supposed to be in a cast for 6 weeks, you know, at least 4 to 6 weeks. And I said, can we do that? Because if we can move her into a boot and be very careful, can we have any opportunity to get her out of this in 2 weeks so we can start rehabbing around it? A lot of times the injury that's sustained is not the terminal problem. It's everything else around it that is going to cause a re-injured effect or a contralateral effect. It's like, if we can start working everything around it, and it's hard to move a foot when it's in a cast, right? You know, right. It's hard to rehab things, you know, when they're stuck in a cast. And, you know, for him to oblige and ultimately say, you know, yeah, let's look at it. You know, it wouldn't have even been looked at for 4.5, 5, 6 weeks, probably. Right. So, and I appreciate that on their end too, because now in the same case where it's like, we're just not seeing the healing happening, and then it is what it is, right? But we're not going to leave any stone unturned. And that's all we're trying to do here is change that. And it's like, okay, I'd rather take a look, you know, I'd rather cut down the time 66%, you know, and then look at it. And then if it's got to go back in, it goes back in. If not, it's like, there's more healing here that can happen. And that's what happened. That was the cool part.
One other thing I want to touch on, that anybody that's listening to this that's been put into a cast, there's tons of stuff that can be done, even if you are put into a cast. And we were implementing things right away. One, here in the office, and two, doing it with Cody, so that she was building things that this gave us an opportunity on certain spots that maybe we needed to work on upper body strength, or maybe we needed to get the glutes where they needed to be. And so this injury gave us that opportunity. And I like to look for opportunities in areas where it might be a little bit of a dip, whether it's an injury or a downtime. But this gave us an opportunity to do some things that we wouldn't have been doing if she was on the regular course of our prevention program. There would have been some things that we would have done instead, but this really gave us a cool opportunity to do some things. And we were doing some blood flow restriction really early on for the leg to prevent and decrease the amount of atrophy that was going to set in, because anytime you're casting, there's going to be some type of atrophy that sets in. So there's other things that we can implement and include into that process too, to reduce that. But we did as much as we could while we were still limited and our hands were slightly tied behind our back. And I want to make sure that people know that there are things that can be done, even if you're casted or put into a boot.
So many things here and at home.
Yeah.
I mean, Bailey was soaking up things like a sponge. She was coming home, doing the work. She was doing the work on nutrition, doing the work on hydration, on sleep, on rehab that she could do. She was working with Cody. And even after the cast and things, you mentioned Dr. D earlier, like there's going to be a couple situations, and you do such a great job of saying, here's what we're going to do in either situation. So she always knows there's a plan.
Yeah.
And she's always able to control certain elements of it. And so that's been awesome.
So cast is on, we can kind of, I guess, potentially wrap up the injury side, but cast is on, and just to remind people and just to really lay this out is, again, we have a 10-week timeline, because this is the very real part of how we think about why we do what we do. Is all of this stuff happens, it seems like, at the most inopportune time. And it's like, we just saw 6 dancers in the past 2 weeks, and guess what time it is for dancers? Nationals. Like, we got dancers heading down to Branson right now with, they were pulled hamstring or ankle issues or, low back stuff, or, and now soccer's in the mix, and it's just like, holy cow. But the importance of giving them every opportunity to be on the field morally, ethically, clinically, for the mental reason, because unfortunately that's their identity, and that's what they know, and that's what they love to do, and that's their escape. And honoring that, my whole goal is to remove them attaching their identity to it. You can want it, love it, that's what you want to do, but that's the realisticness of it. Is it's like, okay, now just take it all away. It's like it's like losing a loved one. It really is, and that's the only way I can relate to it. And some people don't understand that, but there was there's that timeline of that 10 weeks, like even with where she's at now, and we can kind of fast forward to where she is now, and what you're seeing now since that ortho appointment of cast on to now is she's blessingly way ahead of schedule, which is super cool. And I just made a post on that the other day. So I guess I'll let you guys kind of rein in with a little bit of what we talked about, but what's the next thing you'd like to go from here about this injury and what you've noticed either with Bailey or with care, or what are some things you're seeing from ortho visit to now?
Yeah.
I'll just speak to the ortho visit, and then you can interject after that. When we went to Dr. Hollabaugh to get the cast removed, to get the x-ray, he told Bailey, he's like, if it isn't healed, we're putting the cast back on. And they took the cast off, and went in, got the x-ray, and he comes in with his papers, and he sits down and he looks at Bailey, and he's like, this is amazing. It's like, I feel comfortable putting you into a boot right now. And Bailey's like, awesome. I could just see it. And I was like, and I was still like, are you sure?
Yeah, right.
You're the orthopedic surgeon.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Are you absolutely positive about this? And he was like, I wouldn't tell you if I wasn't. And I am. He's like, I'm amazed.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool.
That's cool.
So
I was amazed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I think just the working together part of the team. And I think Bailey's become more of a part of the team, doing what she needs to do at home, knowing her body, knowing her nutrition, knowing the work that she can put in, and staying healthy mentally. She's doing a lot of really good work at home. Right. So just from then to now, and to see the progress and the confidence in her. I'll share a quick story just from last night. She was the first time. This week was like a big week.
Yeah.
All of us were really excited. She was back on the court, back in training, like the post that you shared. Everybody around her was really excited. Bailey doesn't show a lot of excitement. She stays pretty focused, but we were all...
It's pretty good. It's fun.
What's next? But yeah, we were all really excited to see her back on the court, and just ahead of schedule, but actually clinically ready.
Yeah.
So that was really important to her. As Matt said, like, we wanted to be 100%, 1000% sure. And everything that you've shown us, everything that you've put Bailey through, all the people around her have said she's ready. And you had to do a little nudge of getting her out there, because some of it's mental, like, don't be scared, you're ready. And she's not all in yet, I'll just say, like, she's not jumping yet, but she's back there on the court, and she's handling things, and she's more confident in her movement. And, we didn't expect that even now. And she's really, because the team has been around her to say, here's the scenarios, here's the progress, here's the steps, here's the scenario, here's the progress, here's the steps, all throughout. She's really okay with where she is too. I think maybe 10 weeks ago, she was like, I'm never going to be ready. I'm never going to be where I was. And now she's like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to be better than where I was. And I know it's not right now, but I'm on track. So that's just been incredible.
You remember what the sticky note said? You remember her leaving with the sticky note the day that she came in with the cast for the first time?
Tell us what you said.
So it was kind of a deflated day, and I flipped my switch and I went to Mr. Positivity, and I think I handed it to you. I said, you give this to her when you get out to the car. And I told Bailey, I was like, your mom has a note for you. I was like, you can look at it when you want and you can do whatever you want with it. But I wrote on this sticky note, times like these prepare you for times like those. And because she is so far in the future, and I get that, and it's hard to stay present, and it's hard to honor and gratitude and positivity and all those things. But as young as she is now, I had my injury at 17, so even later in high school, I mean, and to truly try to get through to her, like, if any time like is going to happen, now is the time. I wouldn't want you any older or any younger, because it's going to happen. Something is going to happen along your career, and if it happens now while you're a freshman, or you're at the age you're at, being 15, it's you still have plenty of time, and you're doing 100% more than a lot of other people in your position, and that's already putting you at an advantage. And then we talked about that in one of more of our coaching sessions, we'll say, here with just her and I, and it was pretty cool to have her reflect on that. But I think that was a big step for her. And it's unfortunate to have any sort of injury. Like you were saying, it's like, you gotta, everything happens for a reason. And you talk about, well, what about cancer and people dying and injuries when they shouldn't happen? And it's like, there's still a grand picture to that, and God's got the control of it. And you guys being very faith-based people too, is, to be able to speak to that point. And I would have spoken to it if I didn't know you guys were in that. It's like, God does have a plan, and it's always sovereign, and he is good, and he's never failed us. And I said, but you have to submit. And maybe that's what part of that learning was, is like, Bailey, you got to slow down. You're 15, not 25, and you're not too far gone. And so this is the brake, and it's not even the brake pedal, it's the emergency brake, saying, look at where you are, and you're going to be prepared for the next thing, or you're going to be able to help somebody who goes through something similar.
I love that you said that. One of the things she talked to me about recently was she's starting to realize, because she's been able to slow down, she's starting to realize why she loves the game so much, why this goal is so important. And she's starting to look at other players and realize there's so much more than what she sees just on their face or out on the court, because she's gone through so much, and she has so much more empathy for like other athletes, especially injured athletes. She sees them so much differently. But even players, who behave certain ways, she's seeing them with a different lens. Like, there's so much behind the scenes and in someone's head at that age, or even through high school, because of the pressure. Right. And so she's just taking things in and looking at things so differently, which, couldn't ask for more. Yeah. Yeah,
definitely.
Anything you want to touch on in particular?
The one thing, this is kind of going back towards when she came in with the cast, that sticks in my mind, and her and I had a conversation. I don't remember if you were in the room with me with this one, but I went a little bit kind of far out with this one, but I truly in my heart believe that this is possible, where I talked to her about the mental game and visualization, especially because she does a lot of visualization even just with the game. But I said, let's turn the script and let's do it with your injury, because your body has the ability to heal, and you can use your visualization and visualize yourself healing all the way down to the cellular level. And so some of the breathing techniques that we did with her in the visualization, we focused on that part of it in those first 2 weeks. So whether that helped or not, I would put money on it that was part of it, because she was on the table over there in the corner, closing her eyes, going all in every single time she was in here. And I know she was doing it at home too, because I asked her about it, and she said, yeah, I do it every night, all that kind of thing. But that part of it too, because there is a weird science about that your body will heal itself, and how fast that happens is based on how much interference there is. And that's where also the chiropractic side of it comes into play, because she is receiving chiropractic care, if anybody didn't know that, throughout this whole process, both from the preventative as well as from the injury care standpoint. And I know Dr. Dustin's very passionate about that part of it, but I think both, one, removing the interference from the chiropractic standpoint, and then two, just getting rid of all the mental stuff on the outside and focusing in on the injury itself and knowing that your body's able to heal and you can facilitate that. We talked a little bit about the fight or flight, the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, getting a little nerdy on you now, but explain those things to her so that she knew what her body could do and how she could facilitate that process of healing. And she was eating that up, real big time. So that was a cool thing. One, to be able to talk to an athlete that young about that kind of stuff and them grab onto it and just run. And that was really neat to see her do that.
And I'll just say one more point. All of this works also at home. Like Bailey does everything you guys want her to do at home, whether it's journaling, whether it's
also not the norm,
right? Not the norm at all, right? The mind body, just band work, all of that stuff. She has a regiment at home, and I got to the point to where I was like, do you want to do all of this? You're not doing it because you're being told, right? And she looked at me and she's like, yeah, I want to do it. And I'm like, all right, that's all I needed to hear. Because I don't want you doing this because you're told to do it. I want you doing it because you want to. So I think that's really important. The home stuff is really important.
I'll say something on that because I think other families that are if you have an athlete that is almost appearing to have way too much on their mind and not, going after so many things at once. That's how Bailey was before she came here. She just didn't have the guidance on like the right things to do and the right order to do them and why to do them. And it is so nice. And as parents, we can kind of let go of the reins a little bit because now we know she understands why she's doing the things she does. Yeah. And she does want to do them. And I remember when we first came in, you were talking about our first appointment. You looked at Bailey and said, do you want to go forward? Yeah. And that's so important. Yeah. Like if the athlete wants to do something, that's a real good sign that they need a little bit more and they will eat it up. So that's been, it's a really important part of the whole process.
I'm glad you noticed that because that's something that we talked about. And that was one of the last questions I asked. I was, you guys in the room, we're going over the pure athlete evaluation, going over the report. And the last thing I ask before we ever make any plan going forward is let's pretend mom and dad aren't in a room.
Yep.
Is this something you want to do? Because I'm not going to waste your time. I'm not going to be the third person you resent, parents, coaches, and then you're not going to listen to me because you don't really want to be here. And I said, but I'm also not going to let them spend their hard-earned money if you don't want to be here. And we want you 110%. So if you're willing to do that, and we ask that to all our athletes, and I would say she is the epitome of, if there's 111%, she's it because she does that, and she's not afraid to text me if she needs something or has questions or is feeling something, or your guys' communication too. And like truly the environment this girl has around her, I still don't think she gets it yet. I still don't think she really realizes it yet. I think she appreciates every bit of it, but it's one of those things. We were told it when we were kids, and I'm still reflecting on things that my dad or my grandparents have said. It's like, one day you'll understand. One day you'll be our age and you'll understand. And so the gratefulness she has, the drive that she has is all there. And it'll be fun when she's 24 on some Olympic national team and she comes back and gives us a hug and says, you know what, I see what happened.
Right.
And it makes me emotional talking about it just because it's like, that's the goal. And for you guys to pick out some of those fine details are huge. As we kind of head downhill here, because we could do this all day probably if we really wanted to. Give me just I want you both to think from your own perspective. Moms and dads are going to feel and think two different ways. But throughout this process from, I guess, March to now, what's maybe a proud parent story that you have throughout this process? It doesn't necessarily have to be wrapped around the injury, although that's been a bulk of this, but what's maybe a proud parent moment from the student athlete perspective at this point. And I can let you guys kind of have a second as we talk about it. But I think the most proud thing, as I give you the mic and take it away immediately. I don't want to put you on the spot.
Stop talking.
Put you on the spot. Yeah. Is I would say from all of this for me is just so proud of what our team has been able to do and the communication we have all had. But you know, this is, you guys have helped us even open doors with people like Cody, and that communication and being willing to link us up. And then walking on, when Scott told me Wednesday morning, he's like, you can come out here on the floor. Like, let's go. Scott Dasinski, the trainer, the volleyball player she trains with. And like, I'm in the middle of his court. He's like, come on out here. And I'm like, sweet. I was like, this is how it's supposed to work.
Right.
We have ortho, we have personal trainer, we have volleyball trainer, we have everybody, and we're literally standing on the same court together.
Amazing.
Behind and in front of this gal right now. And I think that's been the proudest moment for me, is having everybody all in for the athlete.
Right.
So
what's your proudest moment, Matt?
So I'll actually read you my proudest moment that I texted.
Ooh.
Well, maybe not my proudest moment. I think it's
for a guy that doesn't prepare much. He's a very prepared.
I actually texted
Just
Bailey
nonchalant.
today.
Oh, you did?
At
Let's text
9
Bailey
a.m.
today. Let's see.
He's got black
And
yellow
these are the kind of
phone case.
texts I send Bailey, as you know, and like I said before, you know, it's about supporting and making Bailey feel good. Right. So if I start crying, it's not very long, but I get emotional. So this is what I sent Bailey at 9:00 this morning. I said, I just wanted to tell you how proud I am of you. Your growth as a young lady, mentally and physically, has been nothing short of incredible. I know it's a lot to handle, but you've taken it all and made a plan and have stuck with it. There are really big things in store for you as you continue on your journey, and the world will watch out. The world better watch out. You are and will be a role model for so many people and have the ability to change lives. I love you, and you and Braden are my heroes. So, and then she says, Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going back to
yeah, that's exactly. She was like, thank you. So, you know,
hopefully there's a hug later.
I'd say that, you know, just doing little things like that make me proud as a parent, knowing that she is really doing what she loves. And that's what makes me proud. I don't care what it is, sports, whatever. Seeing your kids do something they truly love and are super passionate about, and also know that we have a really tight-knit family, that makes me proud. For
That's
sure.
awesome.
Yeah. Way to go. That's going to be hard to follow. My proud moment is I was really missing the authentic Bailey smile. And, you know, we came to you when there was a ton of pressure. And I wasn't sure what to say or do with her. And I knew I didn't have what it took. And I knew she had a lot of expectations of herself. And there were just so many moments when we would drive around the neighborhood and I'd listen to her be frustrated and I didn't know what to say. And I really missed my girl's smile. And she's got that back. I mean, it is back full on. And if anybody knows Bailey, when she smiles with her whole all of those needs show up.
Yep.
And it is back. And, you know, she's not out of the woods. She's got her goals. She's going to achieve them. But I just really wanted her to be okay and be in love with who God created her to be and realize that this is all part of a big picture story and to just love it, love every part of it and love herself. And so I'm glad that she's gotten that back. There's been a couple moments, I'd have to say, like not just one, but I've seen several real authentic Bailey smiles in the last few weeks. And I know it's because of her team.
I think that right there is beyond a golden nugget. I mean, that's a diamond, I think, for a lot of parents. And I think they need to listen to that again. And for those of you in the back, we'll say it a little louder and we'll turn the volume up on this one. But everything that you just said you were most proud of had nothing to do with performance.
Right.
And I think a lot of parents miss that. And my kids are 6 and 8 almost. And there's times that I'm already missing that. And it's like, for your guys' knee-jerk reaction to be put on the spot, even though I gave you an extra minute when I pulled the mic away,
right?
To have it nothing to do about performance and the fact that she's out on the court and the fact that she's getting her jumping back and that she's hitting, it had nothing to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think more parents need to realize that that is what's most important, that they are happy and that they are safe and protected, and that you might not have all the answers as the parent, but you damn sure have the ability to put everything around them that you can.
Mm-hmm.
And choosing to make it about that versus how do we get her to Texas? How do we get her to Nebraska? How do we get her to Ohio State? How do we get her? That's not it.
Right.
That's a byproduct of being able to put them in a position to have the ultimate success, but be the person that they were designed and created to be, fearfully and wonderfully made.
That's right.
So that's super cool.
I don't have anything else.
You don't have a proud story?
I mean, my proud story.
Save the best for last.
There you go.
No, I think my mind definitely just goes to kind of what I already alluded to when we were over on the table. That I was very proud of that. One, just because I was able to get through to her, and she was, grasping onto something that I don't think she even realized I was going to throw at her. And and she really took it. And so that's my proud moment, because I truly believe that was part of the 2-week healing process and getting her out of that cast. Along with, there's 50 other things we could list off that we did with that. So it is not just one thing that got her out of that cast, but her just taking everything and trusting us through the process is something that I'm proud of for sure.
Well, I guess last thing, just with this process, and I think you've already kind of said it, and truly, I mean, we're going to share this story, and I would be very transparent. It's stories like these that are going to help somebody watching or somebody in the community, and you guys have been very gracious sharing that story and connecting us with people. But I mean, I think it's safe to say that, with the team that you've put around Bailey and with what we're doing here, what we've been able to be a part of, I think it's safe to say that you're probably pretty happy with the choice that you made to
Grateful every day. Yeah.
I mean, what would you say to other parents at this point? I mean, I know you've mentioned a little bit, but I mean, whether they're here in the community or across the country, I mean, what are some things, even in the past 4 weeks, what would you say with your experience here and with what you found, even learning in your perspective for the past 6-8 weeks?
Things are not the way they were when we were kids. There's so much pressure. Be willing to surround yourself with other people, and be okay that you don't have the answers on all the things around athletic performance and prevention. There's just too much, and we've already got enough pressure as parents anyway. So it's okay. And it's really based on my story, our story. It's awesome to have people around you to give you those answers and give you that support. It just makes it for a better athlete, makes for a better family dynamic, like Matt said. So just realize, like, you don't have to be alone. You don't have to be in it alone.
And I would also say, to your point, it makes life easier at home when we know we don't have to step in and talk about some of the things that, Bailey has gone through, specifically with the injury stuff. And we know you guys have our back on that. And also, what you don't know, give somebody an opportunity to step in, and you might see your kid's life change because you've given somebody the opportunity to come into something that you might not feel comfortable letting somebody into. And if you do that, it can change your life at home a little bit too, to where it just makes things a little bit easier. Right. So I can't tell you how many times Mindy and I have been talking, and we're like, yeah, you usually tell me. Just let Dr. Dustin and Dr. Nate talk about that to Bailey. And I'm like, yep, okay, duly noted. Remember that. Thank you. Yep. So that's happened quite a bit. So it's definitely been life-changing for Bailey. And for that, we're super grateful for you guys and Sam.
Last question on that. And I am not searching for testimony, and it does not have to be about us necessarily, but I want to, if it is, great. But what was a part of the process, or at what point did you feel that you could trust us or somebody like us? I mean, you mean, say, the team that you put around here. I mean, you know what I'm trying to get. I'm not trying to fish for a compliment here, and I don't know how else to ask it, but I think as parents, there's something that it's like, you know what, I can trust this person. I can trust this place. When at that point, with what you were just talking about, when did you know, like, no, we can trust these guys. We can trust this place? Was there anything in particular that did it? It's more feedback for us, but I think it's big for parents too, to where it's like, there's a lot of vetting that goes on, and like this is not like, yeah, you can take my car to the store. Like, this is your daughter. Like,
I would say I felt like I could trust you guys when I started hearing it from Bailey, like her get in my truck as soon as we leave here and automatically start talking about not what you and her talked about here. I've never asked her about that, but what you guys do here. What you and her talk about privately, I can see in her demeanor and the way she's acting. When that happened, after probably a few weeks, that's when I was like, all right, I put full trust in you guys at that point, because I can see it in Bailey and the way she processes things, the way, whether it's mentally, whether it's, all the things that she does for sports. So that was the point where I put my full trust in you guys, because Bailey put her full trust in you.
Yeah. And I'd say the trust bank keeps growing because we keep seeing Bailey lean in and get results in ways that I didn't expect.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, opening up her physical, nutrition, mental, all the things. So the trust bank keeps building. I think it happened the first visit for me. Now, we did a lot of vetting. We knew a family before,
right.
So we knew who you were. So for me, when I saw the data and I saw Bailey, I knew we'd made the right choice. And I'm kind of an all-in person. We went all in. We did a lot of vetting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like I said, I wasn't fishing for a compliment on that, but I think that, obviously being only one location right now, I mean, we do have listeners across the country and even outside of it, but I think it's good for people to know that those are some important things to look at as far as when you are vetting anything as a parent, especially in the athletic realm or healthcare or whatever it is it's like, okay, and that's feedback for us. Was it the data? Was it and I was actually surprised to hear it's like, it wasn't anything that we said. It was how she responded. And that's good info for us too, because I think by way of that, we take a little bit of that for granted when that's ultimately what we want. But we're so worried about, like, you guys have the say, this is your daughter. And I think in the very beginning, we're more focused on you guys. What do you need from us? What do you want to hear? What can we give you? What are you looking for? And how do I put you at ease? Like, she's in good hands when all you want to see is her, your son or your daughter. And, I think that's some good tip also for parents to look at.
Yeah.
So anything else? Did any notes
so
there that you wanted to go that we didn't hit that
Dr.
you wanted
Dustin
to go
knows
through?
I like to be prepared. We hit all the points.
Yeah.
I think around the
So
bout
grateful.
we went decent. I circled the wagon a few times. Is there anything else, Sam? Is there anything that you want to chime in and say at all?
She doesn't have a mic.
She doesn't have a mic. Well,
She doesn't get a chance.
she doesn't get a chance to say. Did you want to pop in and say anything at all? Is there anything that you wanted me to tell? Yeah, I figured we're going to bring Sam around because Sam has been very instrumental in this, because there's a female component involved in this. And
Absolutely.
I
I get to sit in the chair. Hi, guys. Some of my favorites. I just wanted to, my proudest moment of Bailey is getting her to joke around with me. Like, you were talking about her smile, and I was like, yeah. Like, Bailey is very much like, all right, I'm here. Hello, I'm going to get adjusted. I'm going to go over here with Dr. Nate. I'm going to get soft wave. We're going to go.
Yep.
And so getting her to like chat with me about her favorite Christmas movies or like joking around with her and being like, yes, like watching that transformation in her was
their entertainment
really cool.
banter. I'm like, wait, there is life outside of volleyball, Bailey? Like they're talking about
Can you
movies
believe
and
it?
shows. And I'm like, this is great.
Yeah, I noticed that for the first time a couple weeks ago when she got done with something over here and she just came up and she was just talking to you.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, I got to go do my shockwave.
And it was like, you're right. You do have to do that. Like, it's one of those where just the other day she came up and left her stuff on my desk and just like hung out. And I was like, oh, hey, good to see you. She's just like, I'm going to put my water bottle here and my little thing of Vaseline, and then I'm going to go. I was like, okay, that sounds great. Thanks. So yeah, I think that's a big thing for me was watching her. Yeah.
Well, like Matt said in the beginning, we wanted some place she felt comfortable.
Yeah.
That's absolutely evident that she's very comfortable here.
Yes. Yeah. And that's one of my goals too, is everybody that walks through the door, but especially our kids like that, like giving them a space to feel comfortable, not just with these two, but also with me.
Oh, you do a really good job at that.
Thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
That's awesome.
I don't know if I ever told you that. Oh, bad boss, bad dad,
Right.
bad boss.
Oh no.
Actually, he did text me one day and he said the people, Dr. Nate's office off screen now. You can come over here. You got
Dr. Nate, you can come sit right here.
because Matt and I text quite a bit. So, but I will say to you two, I mean, we're all a team here, but thank you guys because you text me. I don't know. It was probably a couple weeks ago. It flies by, and Matt said, "I just want to say the team that you have put around your facility is top notch, and we trust every one of them. You know, Nate and Sam, and the comfortability we have. He's like, you have done a great job putting great people around you to be able to serve the way you do.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was huge for us to hear. And we thank you for that because there are plenty of days, just like in any other industry, where it's like, are we doing it? Like, are we doing good work? Are we making a difference? Is it shining through yet? Because, you know, we all get so emotional and clouded. And in this society and in this world right now, the way it is today, where we need more Jesus and prayer and, you know, less of a lot of other things. And it's like, but we're so quick in this world to give 1-star reviews. And we talk about that as a team is, you know, we're so quick to have a bad experience and give a 1-star review, and to hear things like that is still few and far between. But I don't think I did tell these guys that, but I guess that's one of my more proud moments too, is it takes the all of us.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad Sam jumped on here. I forgot you didn't have a mic because it really is a team effort. So thank you for those words as well.
Yeah. And I'll just say one thing, and, you know, being, I'm an owner of a business, and, you know, you deal with a lot of things that nobody else knows and nobody else sees. So it is nice to, when you hear something like, hey, I appreciate what you did, even if it's small, it's like you don't realize how good that makes someone feel. And all the other things, to your point, the 1-star reviews, whatever it is, and the things that are so stressful, bad or good, just to have somebody say, you guys are doing a great job is just so uplifting. So, and I do appreciate all you guys. So.
Well, we appreciate you for coming on and joining us for this and sharing your story. If you ever want to do it again, you're more than welcome to, and I'm sure we will.
We'll see you next week.
We're writing the book. We'll get on the book.
We'll turn the mics around.
Yeah.
You come up with the outline, and we'll sit on that side of the table. Well, thank you guys very much. We enjoyed taking care of you guys and taking care of your daughter. So we will cut this up and put all kinds of stuff out. This will go out probably next week.
Cool.
And so we look forward to launching this one out. Hope you guys enjoyed a little insight into some of the behind the scenes of who we get to work with and what we get to do here at the Pure Athlete. You heard it here first on the Pure Playbook. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, message us. We're open books. Hope you enjoyed meeting the Myrics with us today. Join us next time on the Pure Playbook. See ya.
There you go. Hey! It's a new show.
That's the title.